So we're joined by two of our Senior Vice Presidents of Sales, Don and Carsten. What are the kind of things that buyers say to you when you first meet them?
The first question is, how can you save me money? It's really that simple. Everything else grows from there. But how can you save me money? Because if you can't save me money, then go away.
And what's the response to that from ShipServe's perspective?
Well, there's different ways to save someone money. You can save them money on the prices that they pay for products. You can also save them money by helping them save labor or to retask people from manual processes to automatic processes, which then allow them to spend more time on value-added operations. And you can also save them money by helping them understand how their business is going so that they can figure out how to target the right activities.
And Carsten, when we first start talking to customers or potential customers of ShipServe, we often see a number of typical problems that they're experiencing, the pains they're going through right now. What are some of those that we see typically when we start speaking to customers?
I'd say that while we are engaging in a more digitalized way of doing business, the amount of data that are becoming available are growing very, very, very fast. So, transferring from a kind of analog way of doing business, of purchasing, into a more automated, digitalized way, of course, this is where we, as ShipServe, offer our services and our systems and our integrations. So that's a journey. And that's one of the challenges that many procurement departments are facing right now. That's this transformation from the old world or old way of doing business. Just because you are sending an email when you are asking for a product doesn't mean that you are digitalized in any way. You've just shifted from a telex to a telefax to an email, but actually you're doing the same process. And so engaging with a purchase or a procurement department and showing them what they can actually do to work more effective or efficient, that's I wouldn't call it a challenge, but that's one of the tasks that we put on ourselves to help the purchaser in that journey.
So Don, it's all about efficiency. We typically would then see emails being sent from existing procurement systems with attachments, and that's the perfect area where we can help, right?
Yes, well, you see, just to follow on what Carsten said, it's very easy for a person who's been doing something the same way for a long time to keep doing it, and there's no reason why they have to change. Until that moment when they start to be asked to do more with fewer people. Okay, or the shipping company takes on 10 more ships and they don't add a buyer. So a system that worked fine when a buyer was covering 3, 5, 7, 8 ships doesn't work when they're being asked to cover 12, 15 ships. Or when the buyers may be commoditized. So this buyer may be handling all the auxiliary equipment for the entire fleet. So now suddenly the things that they used to do don't work anymore. And what Carsten was talking about is that the amount of data that's available, it can be completely overwhelming. So at this point now, the buyer is saying, okay, I have to change something, but I'm not sure what. And I want to do this without completely turning my entire department upside down. So if you can make me more efficient, if you can take away some of the things that aren't adding value, then I can manage more ships. I can handle more transactions, more negotiations with the same number of people that I had when I was doing fewer ships.
So Carsten, let's move on and talk about the implementation of the ShipServe solution. I guess the first step is an initial discussion with either yourselves. Carsten, you look after the European region. Don, you look after the Americas region. It's a first chat with yourselves or an equally experienced person in your team. Is that right?
Well, we usually have technical colleagues on board the first chats with our prospect buyers. Mm-hmm. And the reason for that is that we need to identify the feasibility from a technical point of view. It's so that every shipping company or most shipping companies have a purchasing department, and that purchasing department is using a purchasing system. And since we've been around for more than 17 years now, we have built integrations, technical adapters, so-called adapters, for most known procurement systems. So one of the initial talks from a technical point of view is to understand the feasibility and to give the shipping company an understanding of any difficulties or challenges that we may have to look at in the early phases. Because if it's not technical possible, then there's no need of looking into the commercial. But it is always technical possible. It's only a matter of identifying, can we implement the ShipServe solution in days or in weeks or in months? And that depends very much on what type of system that the procurement department are using.
Okay, so this is a very important point because we integrate into the buyer's existing system.
Yeah, we really don't change anything. We put an extra layer to their already existing system, and the beauty of that is that we don't ask them to change any processes whatsoever. We just add an enormous amount of features and opportunities. We kind of open the world. We by digitalizing their existing procurement system to the entire world, we open it up to the entire world of suppliers, and it gives them an enormous amount of flexibility in terms of sourcing, optimizing processes, analyzing and understanding their procurement dynamic, you would say.
Okay, great. So Don, Carsten talked about different technical challenges, but he also pointed out that we've done hundreds and hundreds of these integrations, and obviously in shipping there are a multitude of different systems. But we've dealt with almost everything, Don, right?
Yes. Well, when we come into a shipping company and sit down and talk, usually you have the purchasing manager or VP of operations sitting on one side of the room, and then you have the director of IT sitting on the other. And these two people have different needs. The director of IT, he wants to know, or she wants to know, that this is not going to be a giant IT project that's going to suck up all the resources and take everything away from all the other things that they're doing. So they want to know, how long does it take to plug the two systems together? And the happy news about that is that if a shipping company is using any one of our typical partner systems, that plug-in can take place in minutes to hours. So take, for example, an ABS system. ABS already has an existing e-commerce adapter. The ShipServe adapter goes on, the two plug together, you test a couple of transactions, and it's working perfectly. So that gives the IT director comfort that they are able to get online quickly. In the case that it's not a partner system, maybe they have something they've had developed for themselves, or maybe it's a system that's been adapted to their company that was originally a non-marine system, then that's when the specialists get involved. And we have a dedicated team of implementation experts who work with the customer's IT department to make it as painless as possible and say, okay, what information can you give us? We'll take care of making sure that it fits into our system. So whether it's a standard partner system or a customized system or a unique system, the whole idea is to make it as painless as possible for the shipping company, and that gives the IT director some comfort. Now when we talk about the purchasing manager, what he or she wants to know is, am I going to turn my company upside down to implement ShipServe? And the short answer is no, you don't have to. If you have a buyer who has been sitting there and transacting a certain way, they can continue to transact that way the day after they go live, no differently than the day before they go live. They look at the same screens in their purchasing system, they have the data goes into the same places, it's no different. But what we do is we open up an entire new world for them. So that in the past, for example, when they needed a new supplier, how did they do that? They called somebody they knew at another company. They called the most experienced person in the department. Well, now we have tools within ShipServe where, sitting at their desk, they can find that new supplier. If they want to look at certain benchmarks or performance statistics on a supplier, whereas previously they would have had to get out all kinds of spreadsheets or pull data manually from a bunch of different reports, or just kind of wing it when they sit down with the supplier. Now they have a bunch of tools that they can use to expand their capabilities. So this allows them to grow at their own pace. So if you like doing what you're doing, you can start that way, but there's a whole new world of possibilities out there.
Yeah, I think that the trick is that it's business as usual once you're up on ShipServe, but one of the differences is that you start collecting data, so to speak, in the background, and at one point you are presented with some actionable advice because you are collecting so much data, because we are digitalizing everything that you're doing going forward. That gives you an excellent insight into your business, into what you're actually doing, so you can make adjustments, you can optimize, as Don said, your supplier database, you can revisit some of your suppliers and ask for low prices maybe, and you can revisit whether you are getting supplies from the right ports as well.
So let's wrap up and do a super summary. So you've talked just there about the benefits of the digitalizing data in terms of the analysis and the actionable insights that we drive through our reporting on ShipServe. The sourcing of suppliers is much easier. And then on the process automation side, what we talked about at the beginning, I would say there, no more retyping, no Excel attachments, no PDF attachments.
That's correct.
Easier to send to a greater number of suppliers. That data comes back in a standardized format, so it's easier to compare. The data's more accurate. What did I miss on the process automation?
On the process automation, very little.
So that's probably a good summary of the existing process automation benefits. But Don, we're working on additional process automation benefits too in the pipeline.
Yes, we're planning on extending deeper into the logistics portion of the supply chain. The invoicing side, we have certain tools now, and we're planning on extending those. Contract management, catalogs. So there's much more that we can do and that we are doing, and we have a pipeline that's going to be filled for years to come.
I'd add to that by adding ShipServe to your strategy, you get a ticket or gateway to the future of shipping.
What would you say about people's concern in regards to implementing ShipServe in the cost area?
It really shouldn't be a concern. Running a ship can cost between $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 and $5 million a year. The cost of ShipServe is a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of that, and the cost can easily be justified doing a very short ROI analysis. That is definitely not an inhibitor to engage with ShipServe.
Yeah, I think that that when you look at the ROI, that the process automation will give you all the ROI you need, and as you start to get into the product cost savings from optimizing your supplier base, that can give you all the ROI you need. So it will stand on its own on either basis, and you put the two together, and it's fantastic.
Thank you both.